Welcome everyone. Have a great Friday. This is another great episode of our podcast that we kind of try to do regular. Today we'll be talking on the launch or tear and back again. I was saying that I was inspired by the Tolkien, and as we are about to launch, and we got a lot of project owners, launch owners there, we can share some knowledge, perspective, ideas over. We are kind of waiting for the guests from the GemPad and also from the Crypto Phoenix blockchain, but we already got Lord John of the Thong from the Thongs Lounge for the first time. So I want to really thank you for coming here today and being with us. And also we got the Nomad. Yeah, sorry.
I appreciate the invitation.
Thank you. And also we got the Nomad from the F.A.T.E team, you may know. Guys, this is really something I'm looking forward. As I'm saying, we are about to launch. I mean, we can start with the point of the community building before the launch, and how can we really make it? So as we know, the F.A.T.E team is currently launched with their token. So maybe could you, Nomad, quickly introduce like what chain you are using and what tokens you got? As I know that you guys got like the Fat Cake and the F.A.T.E token. So just to introduce, and we can talk over.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me. I'm happy to answer the question. So my name is Nomad with the F.A.T.E ecosystem. Currently, we have two ecosystem tokens that are both on the BSC. That would be Fat Cake, and then we also have a F.A.T.E token. So F.A.T.E ecosystem is turning out to be a giant ecosystem. We're focusing on allowing people to decentralize themselves in the way they communicate with people, interact with people, and especially making payments. And so both of these tokens are going to be integral parts within that ecosystem. And then we're going to also have a bunch of other products that are going to be within that ecosystem. One of the most recent products that we have launched is called 3Pay. 3Pay is a wallet extension that is actually compatible with majority of EVM tokens. And it's basically an extension to your already existing wallet. It allows you to, it's a social tree mixed with crypto payments and tipping. So you can copy and paste that link into your bio, and it has all your social media handles there. But then it also allows people to tip in crypto or even book AMAs or other things directly through this embed link. So we're really excited about that. And the 3Pay system is going to be evolving into other aspects of the ecosystem within F.A.T.E ecosystem. So that's kind of the everything in a nutshell. I didn't want to take up too much time. I mean, I could keep talking if you want, but I guess I could keep talking. What was that?
Have we lost the host?
I don't know.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was muted. So I think I can see Vladimir in the chat. So once again, guys, if you are the guest, just raise your hands and I will unmute you so you will be able to speak up. Yeah, thank you for the introduction. And I was saying that as we are about to launch, we need to cover a lot of stuff. And at first, it is the community building, right? So I would love to ask your ideas on really how to manage that you are building the community, let's say both organically, you are using some smart marketing, but at the same time, you got the community interested into the project. So for example, Nomad, like how did you guys manage to launch and keep the community engaged in a way that they understand what is the F.A.T.E ecosystem about, and what are your ideas and vision towards the project.
No, of course. When the F.A.T.E ecosystem initially launched, it was actually in the middle, close to the end, in the middle of the last bull run. So marketing and community building strategies were definitely extremely different than what you would find in a builder's market, which is where we're currently in right now. So because at the beginning, I mean, let's face it, we saw so many projects that would just have astronomical roadmaps and we're going to do this, we're doing that. You would just have to say a word and hype would apparently just follow the project regardless of the team or experience or anything like that. So launching, and this kind of goes into the topic of keeping a community engaged. Because honestly, in my opinion, it's great to launch projects in the middle of a builder's market, but you have to really explain what it is you're doing, and transparency is a big part of that. Because let's face it, especially in a builder's market, hype is really hard to find unless you're backed by like 10 VCs. You got, $1 billion in development marketing funds and things like that. So if you're a relatively smaller project, and when I say smaller, in comparison to these giant VC funded projects, transparency and community engagement by, constantly giving the community updates, constantly being transparent, easy to talk to, team, dev, things like that. Because it's all about getting people engaged in the idea that you're trying to convey, but then also letting them know that you're here to hit roadmap goals, that you're here to stay and you're going to be accomplishing everything you set out to do. And that, I believe, is the difference between, launching a project in the middle of a bull run where people are just flocking from one token to the next. And then, they find a project they like, so they stick around for like a week or two, but then they hear about X token launching and it's super based dev and all the degen terms. And so they just go token hopping. And, eventually the tokens that survive survive through a bull market into a builder's market, those are the tokens you really want to keep your eye on, because it means, the team is still there building regardless of what the chart looks like, regardless of not totally regardless of investor sentiment, but they're there to continue the project regardless of how the ecosystem around them, how the crypto market around them is reacting to global markets. So I think that's my answer in short.
Right. Like, this is the thing. Like, we are kind of used to the scheme of the marketing, and also the community expects that everything from this launch. So we are basically doing the round of AMAs, getting those call channels. But to be honest, we had the first NFT sales, and so I'm not going into the details, but we spent a lot of on the marketing side, right? We had 8 AMAs in really great channels around. And to be honest, I've ended up with a community that they didn't really understand what Terra is. And I felt strongly about that. I need a community that's backing up the whole project, that's supporting. So I've turned this whole scheme into kind of trying to deliver something else. And that's the interaction with the community, trying to push the ideas, trying to have the like the Medium articles, quizzes, right? To be in touch, and that's a whole change in the marketing point. And maybe, as we are saying, like in the bull market, it is kind of different, because right now we need to focus on something else, and that's the actual top-down processes. I want to ask Dan, as he's the launch owner. So we got another perspective to the bucket. Like, how do you feel about this whole community building? And as you are used to hosting a lot of projects, like maybe what's the current trend, and what are the things that you are noticing and that you feel strongly about?
To be honest, at the moment, I mean, I'm in a lot of private groups with lounge owners, and it's getting tough for lounge owners at the moment because this isn't a buyer's market, like Nomad said. It's a builder's market, and when it comes to like community as a whole, I think it's something like 80% of all people in crypto now got into it during 2021's bull run. And for the most part, if you're joining a bull run as a noob, most of those, some of those got lucky, but most of them ended up getting wrecked. So a lot of people now, this is their first ever downtrending cycle. So a lot of people are burying their heads in the sand. But that's not to say that there aren't great projects coming out. And like Nomad said, it is a good time to launch. It's very hard. Like marketing now, it's a whole different game. You used to be able to go into a lounge and the whole lounge would get bullish, and you could continue posting in there. And nowadays it's kind of like a lot of lounges, like this is where my lounge, we take a lot of pride in deleting those AMA giveaway hunters and deleting the accounts and stuff like that, so we get real people. But at the same time, those I know that lounges are where, I mean, for crypto projects, it's the same as lounges. Like we are all behind the scenes creating, lounge owner communities, and it's no different for projects. How to survive this market, in my opinion, right now is teamwork. And I mean, the current trends right now it seems to be gambling tokens, and obviously meme tokens seem to be doing well, and fair launches and stuff. But other than that, there isn't really. I mean, it's just a tough time for everybody, really. I don't really know how much more I can expand on that.
Great.
I hear people going into lounges, like big ones, and come out of it and they didn't receive any, it didn't help their project at all. But at the same time, it does help give name recognition, which is important. But, community is first. And, I mean, I know a lot of projects that should have died during this market, and they've teamed up with a lot of projects. And because they've done that, they're surviving through it. And not just surviving, some of them are actually flourishing. And, they should have been gone like months ago.
Great, thank you. Meanwhile, I've unmuted the Gilded Tsar from the F.A.T.E team, also Spazitron, and also Vladimir from the F.A.T.E team. So guys, hello. I hope you can speak now, so freely drop your word.
Hey.
Thanks.
Hey, good.
Great.
Hey, everybody.
Hello, Spazitron. Guys, awesome having you there. We are just talking about the community building and what to focus on, and like how to get the right thing in the top-down processes, the marketing, the growth. So maybe let's round this kind of part of the podcast. And what do you think is the most important aspect regarding to the community building, especially before the launch? So, guys, what do you think? Let's start, for example, with the Gilded Tsar, as you had no chance to drop a word yet.
I mean, I think if you're building a community, you haven't launched yet. It's kind of the biggest thing I guess you need to focus on is what you're building or what you're launching, and kind of your roadmap and the progress on getting to that launch point. I mean, it's kind of the same thing, right? Like transparency is kind of the key. Like whether you've already launched and you're working on something, or whether you're getting ready to launch and you're working on something, sharing with your community at the right moments is definitely going to help build that trust and help you be successful with a launch. I think that just giving regular updates, whether it's once a week or multiple times a week, or you have to make sure that you stay engaged and that your community knows that you're on it, that you're working on it. That's the biggest priority, in my opinion, for any project, whether they're live or getting ready to launch.
Right. Thank you. Spazitron, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that not that it has never been successful, but attempting to launch like something before you have anything worth launching, right? Like as you're building, like that should be what draws in the community. I mean, how many projects have we seen where it's like, oh, we're gonna do this and do that, and then they launch and they launch without having anything to even show off, and then they're gone. It's just, yeah, I agree with Gilded. Just focus on the build. Focus on the build. The community will grow as they see more and more.
Yeah, I have to completely agree with that. I mean, I read white papers almost daily. I mean, prior to this market, when people have stopped kind of marketing, but I was doing up to 2-3 AMAs a day, and that's a lot of white papers I was reading. And I mean, 9 out of 10 of them, I had my head in my hands my head in my hands the whole time. Because you just look at the white paper, and I'm just looking at it going, I know none of this is going to get done. Transparency and promise less and deliver more.
100%.
It's like a more of a dream board than a white paper.
Yeah, that's it. I look at it, and it's just it's my pet peeve, and I let every person know during the AMA. I'm like, this is where you make or break it with my opinion on your project. Is as soon as I start reading the white paper, because I mean, people promise the moon and life changing things without actually, they're basically a meme coin, and they're promising their own blockchain, for example.
Yeah, like this is the thing, right? Like as we are a gamified projects, and like people were asking a lot in the AMAs, for example, for the metaverse, and I was always like, guys, like I can't promise you the metaverse, because the metaverse is like extremely hard to develop, and you need a lot of funding. But still, a lot of projects like fill that metaverse thing into their roadmaps and just promising fake delivers. But it is also maybe about the knowledge sharing, and like people don't know like how much these things actually cost to develop and what is needed to have
The
some
amount
sort
of work
of
that's required. Yeah.
Right. Like
I have to agree with that. That's one thing I say in most of my AMAs is when people complain about a dev tax, I'm like, you don't understand what that dev has to do and the amount of work that goes into it. I'm happy if I saw a 6% dev tax, I'm not going to question it, because I know, devs are, for most projects, unless you're like one of these multi-million-dollar projects, most devs are underpaid for the stress and the time that they put into it.
It's really crazy. I didn't even know. I mean, just our servers for our blockchain alone, I think we tallied it up, and it's like $180,000 a year that the node holders are spending just to keep the blockchain going. It's like, I had no idea. So yeah, I'm with you there. The tax makes sense now.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah, infrastructure is not cheap, and as you scale, it equally it scales very quickly. You don't realize that until you're in it, but absolutely, the more that you scale, the more servers you have, the broader reach you have around the world, your costs are huge.
Right. Yeah. Dan, go on.
I was just going to say, yeah, and also, one thing, especially in this market, like F.A.T.E, was not incredibly lucky. They did everything right in terms of community building. It was my favorite project of 2021 during. It was the end of the bull run, but I was, how they handled the community and, just giveaways, and it was fun. You wanted to be there. You don't really see that anymore. And yeah, I think that's a good way to engage the community is to make it fun and pick the community you want, because people get bored fast in crypto. Crypto makes dog years look long. So it's all, community building. It is a hard thing, but once you've got it, and you keep providing, you can keep a community. I've worked on projects. I ended up taking over a project that had the best community, and they stuck through us through the worst of times. And as long as you're producing or providing something, you're going to keep the right community that you're after.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel about it strongly that one needs to be entertained in the community and also feeling kind of one with the team, with what's ongoing. And I feel most of the times people don't even know what's needed, for example, to create a website for unrevealing NFTs, for the whole servers, for the blockchain running, or for the staking. And this is all about delivering the, let's say, updates and how to knowledge, right, to the community. So yeah, I could completely agree that these things are really important. Guys, I think we can move towards a really, really spicy thing, and that's the tokenomics. So regarding the tokenomics, I wanted to talk about multiple things, ranging from the supply, vesting, taxes. So I think we can maybe start with the vesting. And I want to ask, especially the F.A.T.E team, and also the Positron from the CryptoPhoenix blockchain, guys, have you got any kind of vesting on the launch, or pre or launching and afterwards? What do you think about this?
I have a very strong opinion on vesting.
I think vesting is a bad idea, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
It predetermines a major catastrophic crash at some point in time. Because a lot of times you'll have people things will be crashing while people are vested, and then when things unlock finally, then they dump even more. I just think the whole vesting side of things, it creates a lot of just. It's just a bad situation. It contributes to the chaos of these launches. Now, launches, obviously, they're going to have their big up and then their big dump. That's kind of hard to get around. But at the same time, the more you can do to mitigate that and keep the chart and keep the project, the community healthy, and keep them, I think you're better served. Fair launches, pre-sales to some degree. But locking people's tokens and letting them watch the chart burn before they can pull out, and then when they do unlock, they pull out even more. It just
especially the fear that comes around as a holder that didn't get into a pre-sale or private sale.
Right.
That dump starts a week running up to the vesting
to unlock. Yeah.
Schedule. Yeah, because everybody knows what's going to happen. So by the time that you're unvested, you're already you're just watching your money go down.
Yeah, especially in the big projects, if there are a lot of people vesting, is all the investors, they see that vesting unlock period like a countdown for disaster, So right before that, they start dumping. I've seen it so many times. But I guess it depends how big of your project is. And right now, I haven't seen vesting in a very, very long time, guys. Seriously, right now everybody's going with fair launches or just sitting quietly and building. Private sales raised to 200 BNB. I haven't seen that in months.
Oh, I've seen it.
If you're that, sorry, I was just
Go
gonna
on.
say if you're that like unconfident in your product that people are gonna dump immediately, like that's a community problem. That's a product problem. I don't think that I'm basically just saying what's been said already. But yeah,
Well,
just seems
I
bad.
just want to say I don't know if it's fully a product problem necessarily, because a lot of times these things kind of happen regardless of the quality of the product, whether it's a shit product, whether it's a good product. People follow these charts and follow these project launches, and they look for them as simply opportunities to make money. They don't care about the project. They literally don't
I was
care. They care
specifically
about the money
talking
they
about.
can make off of it.
It's
I only
especially
meant
when
in regards to vesting.
especially when it comes to vesting, you can have the best product, but when people know that X amount of money is about to be unlocked and most likely sold, a lot of people are selling. Not just you've got the fear aspect of it where you think, oh no, I've got to sell now before they do, but then you've also got the people that are calculated and are thinking, I'm going to sell now and then buy back at a cheaper price. Which kind of, it's unfair for the vested people. The people that didn't buy pre-sale end up being the winners of that situation.
Right.
Yeah.
And like, why am I bringing investing? And like, you guys are bringing really important ideas regarding to that. Like, I was always feeling good about investing, and that's like to prevent the dump on the launch day, right? To drop just the TGE on the launch and then move with the vesting, because if you have, for example, numerous private pre-sales or the public IDO, simply to prevent the dump. But as you
The
are
dump,
talking about that, like,
in my
yeah,
opinion, the dump is healthy. It looks, it doesn't look great for people, but we all know it's coming. This is a especially in this environment. I think it started at the beginning of the year. Jeet season. Last year, people would put money in and would just sit around waiting and hoping that they got 100x. Now people are like pretty chill with 1.5x, or just worried that bots of dumping at launch. So it's kind of healthy for the project to have that dump, because as long as your tokenomics are correct, it goes into actually helping build your project. It goes to your marketing wallet, it goes to your team wallet, it goes to everything that you need it to. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. But if you did want to offer vesting, my opinion would be to vote token vesting, staking. I mean, I have no problem staking my tokens for a 30-day locked window, even though it might be the exact same thing as being vested. I don't mind, because I know that I can pull out if I need to.
right. So maybe like the vesting for the team tokens, right? For the development sides of if there is any kind of the need for the marketing, legal stuff, or even like the staking or ecosystem, then I think it is actually a good idea to push the trust toward the community. But right, yeah. I mean, if there is a then dump on the launch day, like I'm not sure how would you guys, for example, incorporate the private pre-sales or even the sales toward the venture capitals at all. So would you advise to run a vesting or not for such a situation?
If I can weigh in on this,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it really depends on what product you're pushing out, what type of token you are. And I guess that goes also back to tokenomics of when you're choosing your tokenomics. There's a lot of different factors. In my opinion, I like, the launch dump, getting it out of the way. The people who don't care about the project, they made their 1 or 2x and then they leave. But now you can focus on building and bringing more people into the community. Whereas with vesting, you get these unlocked token periods where there's the potential for these people to get mass amounts of tokens and then dump. And that could be 3 months into the project, 6 months into the project. And you've already done a lot to bring in these investors who, once these unlock periods come, are already down a lot of money. And yeah, you look at it as the psychology of investing of, okay, it's a good opportunity for people to average down if they really like the project. But, you know, again, it all falls back to what type of project it is. And even when you're considering the type of tokenomics you are, it makes no sense to have a large tax coin that's just a meme token. And then if you look at some of these rewards tokens without outside utility, you know, they haven't fared very well because there's no outside revenue coming in to prop up the reward system. Those are all just focusing on constantly bringing in new investors to keep dispersing rewards. So then you got to ask, all right, if you are going to be a token, what's the utility behind it? How are you going to raise capital just outside the coin itself? What's going to bring money into the ecosystem and what's going to help the community? Because at the end of the day, yeah, we want to make cool projects. And yeah, of course, everyone wants to make money, but you are ultimately responsible for people who put their faith in you and their money in you. So those are all things to consider when launching a token, in my opinion.
So, and plus, at the end of the day, you know, the faster you get the garbage out of your project, the better, right? So if you launch a token, just unlock the trading and put like a 30% tax for the first 24 hours, and that's it. Get done with it. And then after 1 or 2 days, continue on developing and focusing on bringing more news and stuff to the community. So yeah, it's a bit of a psychologically play.
I'm still against the raising of taxes at launch just because it doesn't give you confidence enough in the team. You know, you don't want to get screwed out of your own money. And like Vlad said, you know, your whole perspective is to get those that don't believe out of your project. And let's face it, when it comes to pre-sales and whitelists, you know, not so much anymore. But I mean, you know, as someone that's marketed projects for people, whitelist spots used to be a commodity. You know, it was a currency. You know, you could get calls on so many groups just by offering whitelists. You wouldn't have to pay. Now it's all money because people are, you know, not too many people are taking the whitelists. They just want a Jeep. So that, I mean, it's the best idea is just, you know, not to worry too much on the initial pump and dump, because that is going to happen. Because if you're searching for whitelists, you're doing it for one reason only. I mean, if you're offering it to your community, that's one thing, but when it comes to marketing, you're going to have to offer it out to people, and you know, a lot of people aren't even going to look at the project. They're just in it to try and get the 2x, and then move on to the next one just for that dopamine hit.
What do you guys think of the liquefy and burn, like the liquefy and burn mechanic I've seen crop up a few times?
You mean swap and liquefy?
Or like where part of the tokenomics like go into locking the LP?
Oh, again, I like that feature, but it depends on the project. It depends on the type of coin it is. So I really can't give an opinion unless we have like a coin example. You know, to me, it all falls back to, and then we get into the fact that what is the coin going to be used for? Is the coin literally just there to go up and support the, you know, other products of the ecosystem? Is it going to be used as a payment solution for something? Can you reimburse this token for XYZ? You know, what is the token used for is definitely the biggest question anyone who's considering launching a project. And it's okay to say it's a meme token. That's totally fine. You know, if it's memeable and it's got a fun community and everyone's loving it and there's nothing nefarious about it, hell yeah, meme away. But those are questions again that still have to be answered.
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying. Like the mechanics that might work really well for like a governance token or something that's more serious might not be as effective in like
Yeah.
a meme token. Yeah.
Yeah, like guys, I've just posted an example, we were discussing back on the tokenomics 2-3 months ago with the initial negotiations with the launchpad. But right now we are kind of pushing back the sales, the NFT sales, the private ones, cause the global economy. But just to show the example and why I'm kind of feeling about the Western is the trend of not dumping on the launch day, right? After the launch. I'm just thinking that with some kind of a vesting, you are able to mitigate the dump, and you can play with multiple factors. Either it is vesting or the initial market cap being low, and playing with the buying power. So do you think it is better to leave the vesting completely and rather stick toward a lower initial market cap and go with that? Or
I mean, yeah, in my opinion, vesting. I mean, I'm in one vesting project that hasn't launched. I mean, it hasn't launched yet, but when it does, I'm vested for like 6 months, and I'm sitting here thinking why did I do that? It's a turn off when you hear the word vesting, unless it's like some like a super bullish project that's promising to that you think can be the next biggest thing. Like it's say for like for example when Kronos came out and all the projects were saying we're going to be the next X. It's kind of understandable, but you can use that and see that you can prevent the initial dump, but with vesting, all you're going to be doing is seeing dump after dump after dump, and it's going to put a lot of it. It not only puts people off of buying pre-sales because, let's face it, a lot of people, but even the ones that aren't there to cheat, they're going to want to take profit because I'm sure a lot of us right now have sat and held too long and are down. So now a lot of people want to take profit from a launch and then just leave their bag in there to to grow, support the project or do whatever, but they want to get their initial out. And another thing with vesting is it scares away buyers because it's like, well, why would I buy now when it's very likely in 4 months' time I'm going to be getting a cheaper price.
Right. I mean, yeah, that's a good point. Why I was about the vesting is that before the team we were simply scouting the projects bigger ones, and it seems that a lot of the times when the projects get some kind of a venture capitals funding or some other private investors, they are trying to, of course, the venture capitals and the private investors always want the profit, as the people buying on launch and trying to, as you are saying, the initial out. But to kind of mitigate the weights of this kind of opportunism, they are putting the vesting as some sort of a policy out for the dump. But you guys are completely right. And this is why we are talking, since sharing the knowledge and experience. Guys, let's touch maybe, as you were talking on the liquify function, maybe the taxes. And what do you think about the taxes at all? How much it should be? Maybe let's try to discuss multiple kinds of projects, as we are talking on memes. We could talk on like gamify projects or like DeFi with some staking protocols. So what do you guys think about the taxes?
Right. I can
I
open
mean,
up
I mean, if it's a straight up meme token that doesn't really offer a lot of like any utility, doesn't have any rewards, but they want to do some marketing, and I mean they want to be able to possibly build off, you know, in the future potentially build some utility out of it. I mean, there's no point because I've seen meme tokens where it has like a 20% in and out tax, and there's no utility. There's no, you know, on the roadmap. Yeah, they say all these wonderful things, and you see like the team just raking in these taxes, and they don't do anything with it. Which, you know, a lot of those majority 99% of those projects I think are dead now because the community was just like, yo, you guys aren't doing anything. You know, what's the point? Now, if you're talking about, you know, a project where they're actually, you know, building other products that could generate outside revenue, it's awesome to see a solid breakdown of, okay, yes, we have a 10% tax in and out, right? But as you can see here, 5 goes to liquidity staking, or 2% liquidity staking, 2% to the development wallet, 2% to marketing, 2% to rewards or whatever, and then so on and so forth. So again, depending on what type of project, transparent, it always comes back to transparency. You know, exactly what are the taxes for, where are these individual wallets that the community can keep track of? Who gets to vote on how these funds are spent? Is it strictly an internal team decision? Does the community get to vote at all? Yeah, things like that.
And in general, the less taxes, the better, right? So unless you want to have a project that's a charity for the owner of the project itself, I don't see why you should have more than, I don't know, like 10% or so. Even 10%, it's a bit much right now. So
Yeah,
people are looking for low taxes now.
it's a thing I'm noticing as well. I mean, at the beginning of the bull run last year, everything was like 2% tax, or even zero, like some was 0% tax or 1%. But I'm noticing more and more that everybody is lowering their taxes. 10% seems to be 8 to 10% tends to be the average at the moment. But again, it depends what you're trying to build, because you know that 8 and 10% can that's basically LP marketing and a salary. There doesn't leave a lot to build on. But it also, when it comes to tokenomics, it depends on how your contract works, because you know when it comes to building and your tokenomics are high. Let's say, for example, your tokenomics are what are your sell taxes? Sorry, I've just yeah. So I mean, if you've got like high sell, sorry. I've lost where I was going. I've received a message in the middle of that sentence and lost where I was going. Yeah, I mean, where was I?
We were talking on the taxes.
10% taxes average. And unless you want to build a product or what, unless you want to build more utility for your community, you could have like bigger taxes if you need the money for. But yeah, I don't really see much reason why you'd have more than, I don't know, 10%. I mean, depends. Like those reward tokens or those dividend tokens could have more because it's a long-term hold. Like some tokens, if they have real utility and you just have to hold them and receive like passive income, that's different, right? Because there is passive income for you to receive there. But unless you have passive income for real businesses or for real products that has been sold and you are payable for those dividends, then yeah, if it's just a meme token or if it's just a game token or so on, I really don't see why, because you need to have those tokens to be able to trade them somewhere, not sit in your wallet and gather dust.
Yeah, that's kind of You reminded me of what I was trying to say. It's when it comes down to high taxes, it's oh fuck, shit. Sorry, it's gone again. Sorry, Vlad, keep talking.
All good, all
where I
good.
was going. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. No, I remember now. It all depends on how the contract is, because if you've got high taxes, like I like to see things less than 10%. But if you've got high taxes and your contract requires you to sell tokens to, to create the game, to pay yourself a wage and everything, that in my eyes is a relatively, I could look at that as quite a dangerous thing, creating sell pressure. Whereas now, a lot more contracts are coming out where auto converts into BNB or whatever before it hits the chart. So, I mean, it really does depend on the contract itself.
Yeah, if the token is meant to be traded, then you should have like very, very low percent taxes. And if your token is meant to just hold it and receive whatever passive income or whatever benefits or NFTs or bonuses or stuff. So basically, if your token is meant for you to just sit there and gather dust, then yeah, why not? Like, it depends on the contract.
But like I'm saying, 20% of the supply goes for game development. And unless the token withdraws into the BNB, automatically withdraws into the native token, that's 20% that needs to be sold of your total supply for game development, which can hurt quite a bit. But then that also weighs up why you'd have high taxes.
Yeah, and
It's
like
kind
for
of
me, this is
feeling
like
on
the
it.
double-edged sword, right?
Yeah.
Like, because if you are setting the taxes high, then of course you got some reason why you are doing such a decision, and especially if you need some sort of a funding for some product or future you are kind of delivering, right? If I am having some tournaments in some sort of game, I'm using that for the budget for the prizes. But especially if, we had the AMA in the with the Anti-Ruggers United, and I was talking with the owner Boria on especially the supply part of the tokenomics, and we were talking on the team tokens. And he was saying like, guys, like cut off the team tokens and like let's see what the taxes can do. But I think like this is kind of we need to find a good sort of a balance in between the right set taxes and also the supply for the team part, right? And it is not necessarily towards the pocket of ours, but especially for the development at first, because the game isn't easy to develop. But at the same time, if there are some taxes, yes, like there is some sort of for the marketing, for the development, for the tournament pool. But as you are saying, I think both the high taxes and also the big amounts of the supply being held by the team is scaring investors off. So, like, what's your ideas, guys, to balance this supply for the team part and also with the taxes? Like, how to manage that we got enough budget to build, especially if we need to build a product first and then continue with.
Well, that depends very much of the team that is doing the project, because you see, you guys at Tayara, for example, you guys are content creators, you guys are artists, you build your own NFTs, right? You guys at Phoenix, you build your own blockchain, you have your own developers in the core team. We at F.A.T.E, we also, like, Gilded is building everything. He's like, he has a lot of experience, 25 years plus of coding experience. So basically, if you're building a crypto project and you want to build applications and softwares and utility, and you don't have developers in your team and you need to hire them outside of the project, then yes, I see why some projects, they have like big taxes, they have big token allocations for the development side because they need money to develop. But some other tokens, they can sustain themselves because they have people working there from the core team. So that's one thing we have to consider as well when we speak about higher allocations of tokens.
Right. So maybe let's have the view from the Spazitron, as he is from the kind of blockchain perspective. So Spazitron, what do you think?
I kind of basically agree with what's been said so far. But yeah, like a lot of that stuff, it just depends on the project, right? Like a governance token can have a high percentage because um, no one, you're buying it to hold it because you want control over a project, right? Whereas, like you said, something's going to be traded all the time, you want it to be low. And I'm kind of milling over what you said about needing to pay for outside devs. I think most of the teams that I've been made aware of, like they have somebody internally to where that wouldn't be an issue. But I get that that's not everybody. I'm still kind of mulling over what's been said here already.
No, that's very good. Yeah, that's the topic.
Right.
The team's got to get paid. And I mean, when it comes to team tokens, that's mods, that's admin. You know, you have to have people around the clock 24 hours a day. It's just, it's how it's handled. Gives confidence. But unfortunately, a lot of investors don't quite see it like that. I mean, unless you've worked in the industry, unless you've worked in the industry, you kind of understand it, what people go through.
And depends what your goals are as well. Like if you have a very long-term plan with your project, then and if you're a trusted team as well, then I would see no problem if a project holds 30% or 40% of the total tokens, because they will need that in the future. Like we are speaking about years and years of developing and staying with the community. Like what if an exchange comes to you and you need some tokens to give to the exchange? What if a hedge fund comes to you and wants to give you like $100,000 for the development, but they want like a 1% share or something vested? So it's very complicated to do that because it depends of your term. If you want a long-term project or if you want a short-term project.
It's also like completely different from the blockchain side, right? Because a lot of our, like, we might get somebody says, hey, I would like to purchase a node, right? And so we can say, okay, well, what can you do? Oh, I'm a dev. I can I have a game project and I'll launch exclusively on your blockchain. Okay, well, I don't have any tech skills. Okay, well, I'm in Europe, so I'll hang out on Telegram at night while you guys are asleep to make sure people aren't being insane. You know, so it's a completely different. It's just a whole different ball game.
Yeah, and maybe like that's it. Like I think to really understand each sort of chain and crypto kind of nature, we need to look for each of the projects' origin and nature. So if we are like gamified projects, then I think we should look for some of the schemes around and backbones, like what to set, how to set, and once again, like if we are a meme token, then of course I am not in the need to develop this and that. So I think it's the supply and the taxes should correlate with the product and especially the white paper. Yeah, like this is the first and but also like it is very hard to deal with since the community a lot of the times is expecting either less or something different. But again, this is what we were talking earlier, and that's the top-down processes. To be able to articulate all the needs of the community, with the investors, and to represent the product right. As we kind of cover the tokenomics, let's move towards the private pre-sales. We were talking about the vesting, and the vesting is especially connected to RTs. So let's try to talk about the venture capitals, and especially like the portion towards the total supply for the private sales. We can talk about also the private pre-sales within the community, let's say some sort of a seed of investors or private investors. So let's start with the venture capitals. Gilbert, let's start with your idea on venture capitals and what do you think about the funding from them?
Well, most of my experience actually comes from just typical venture capital or angel investors. So I'll speak from that perspective and let everybody else talk about crypto. Now, typically, if I was to try to get an investment, I would have to build a pretty substantive, significant business proposal along with the proof of concept or prototype of some sort to show that to show that it works. And I would have to go through maybe 2, 3, 4 different investors before you'd get the yes. And you're only going for one major investor, really. You're not trying to get like a community of people like you do in the crypto space. But there's drawbacks to that because you spend a lot of time and investment building stuff in a cave where nobody knows about it except for you and your investors. And then you plan this big launch and you do all these things like set up Google ads and various things. And your success is actually always going to be far less than what you expect because the advertisements and the conversions are shit nowadays. Everything you do is a struggle trying to get users to sign up for your platform, to pay, to do, and to use it. That's the onboarding is a real challenge. The crypto space, and again, I'll let you guys drill into it, but the crypto space is the kind of the flip of that. You've got a real opportunity to combine investment dollars that can be used to build something, but also to have a built-in user base. To have people that are already interested from day one and helping you build that product along the way, getting it through beta, getting it through the release candidates, the production versions, and finally out the door. You've got people that are not only invested financially, but now they've invested their time. And that's more than money. That gives people a sense of pride that because they're a part of something, they've helped build it, they've contributed to it in lots of different ways. So they're going to be a lot more inclined, in my opinion, to see that forward, to see that through, rather than anybody else. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like completely. Positron, like when you were launching, especially like we know that the blockchain part of the development ain't that cheap and easy. So did you guys got any funding? Just asking with the pure, let's say, talk on the topic, but also could you drop your ideas on the VCs in the general?
Yeah, sure. So there was a little bit of to set up like a legal foundation and then like get everything so that we're straight away. Like we did have to pay some like a firm to do all the paperwork and stuff for us. But by that point, saying, hey, we need $2,000 to, throw all this stuff together. By that point, our reputation was at a point where it took like a couple hours, maybe. I don't know. It was, and we even said like, look, this is, we'll give you like an NFT or something, but we need this to make this thing go forward. And it was no problem. Again, I feel like the reputation of the people is the most important thing. Like if Gilded came to me and said, hey, can I have a couple $100? I found a way to make a crypto-based agriculture. I said, sure, no problem. I mean, I know you. Like I know, like I've seen what you've done so far. So like, I think that the strength of the not the individual, the strength of the core team. Like once you've gotten the trust of the community, again, like the two partners that came together to make Phoenix was Crypto Phoenix and Golden Ratio Token. We had been around for a year. Golden Ratio had been around for 4, and it's like, well, no one's screwing around here. Like we all know that everyone's sincere. It's all good faith actors. And if you do that and you're consistent, and then time comes to generate capital, venture capital or angel investors, as was said earlier, the people trust you, and that's not going to be hard to do from what I've seen.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I found most fascinating about the crypto space is the just the reverse of it, right? You've got a community of people that, like you said, if you can earn their trust, and this all comes down. I mean, this is very much like politics. When we're talking about taxes, when we're talking about how taxes are spent, I mean, we're talking about politics, right? So if we're talking about politics, you got to ask yourself, what's the thing that we all hate about politicians and we all hate about governments, right? It's the fact that they completely abuse the spending. That's the number one. I think number one for a lot of us is just a complete abuse of spending. And we very much look for projects that we feel we can trust to do the right thing. We wouldn't have a problem with governments and all the spending if the roads were fixed, if the healthcare system was perfect, if all the things that were supposed to be taken care of were taken care of. Then those taxes are justified. But if the taxes are being abused and they're just they're just jet setting around the world on private yachts, having caviar and whatnot, like that's a different thing. It's not being used for what it's supposed to be used for, and that's what's going to piss people off, whether you're talking about actual politics or whether you're talking about the tokenomics of a project. And really, whether you're talking about the trust of an individual or the trust of a team, I mean, it's very much the same thing as a political kind of a situation, right?
I have never thought of it like a political thing, and as soon as you started speaking, I was just like, "Oh my god, that makes so much sense."
Yeah, it's effectively exactly the same thing. I mean, life imitates art, and art imitates life, right? So, I mean, it makes sense that a lot of the things that we see in the crypto space, whether it's the tokenomics, whether it's the charts, it's drawing inspiration from the world, right? From all the things that we already do.
Yeah, so it's like the same way when you have pre-sales and you have new projects, the same way the word trust it's throwing around left and right is the same as in the election campaigns when the word trust is throwing left and right, It's just a word in the air, Yeah, trust the team, trust your country, trust God.
Yeah, that's the same, I guess, with the supply, taxes, whatever. If you got a community that trusts you, it really doesn't matter, what the taxes is or whatever. But still, this connection needs to be really close and done with glance, because the community is the first thing. You need the investors, you need the backing, the trust behind. Otherwise, it is either failed or just a hype thing. But this is absolutely correct. And if you are talking about the VCs and the private pre-sales, let's try to talk a bit also on the public pre-sales and the IDOs, launchpads. I'm a bit sad that Morty couldn't make it today, as he's represented the GemPad, which is kind of quite popular lately. Guys, I think you've had no IDO, right? Or how did you guys launch? And maybe let's start with the Positron.
So both of the projects that came together that just started as tokens before we made the blockchain were fair launch. And then once we had gotten a substantial amount of node holders where it was steady, it was stable, everything was good, then we just said, hey, community that has been sticking with us for a while, if you want to buy it, here's how you buy it. And we'll airdrop you some for holding the tokens for so long. I'll be honest with you, as far as the fair launch, stealth launch, pre-sale, public private pre-sale, I'm still torn. I can see the benefits of all of it. I'll go through phases where I say, I'm never never looking at another pre-sale token again, and then I'm never looking at another stealth launch again. So I'm still torn personally. Like if somebody said, hey, I want to launch a token, I don't even know. I guess I would tell them to do their own research, but there's definitely pros and cons to all of it. And again, token stuff isn't really my forte, but I can definitely see the ups and downs of all the different methods.
Yeah, it really depends on what you're trying to build. I mean, a fair launch is risky because it can, a little bit of maths error and, your LP to market cap ratio is completely out of whack and you never know how much you're going to raise. Whereas a pre-sale, you have the risk of not, like a very strong risk if you go on to some of the platforms of not actually filling. But if you fill, if you manage to fill it, the maths is already done for you. Whereas, a fair launch or a stealth launch, although a lot of people like them, and I'm guilty of throwing money at them every now and again when I say I'm not going to. As a project owner, it's a complete risk. It's a complete risk. You could get cheated out in. I've bought into fair launches. Yeah, they were meme tokens, but I've been cheated out at 3K. I bought a 3K thinking, all right, well, at least this will do all right. And then the next time I look at it 5 minutes later and it's like, 1K. So you have risks involved. Whereas with launchpads, the only risk you have to do is fill it.
So you guys kind of prefer the launchpads over the other methods, like we were talking on the stealth launch, the fair launch. Like, what do you think is the correct option regards to risks ratio toward the successful launch?
At the moment, fair launches are the thing, but they, the issue is with fair launch is, with pre-sales, they require a lot of post-launch marketing. And as we all know, a lot of lounges will do, not so much in this climate, but prior they would do 3 AMAs a day. Or, you get a call from one of the big guys and within 2 hours, your call that you just spent 10 grand on has been lost amongst all the other calls that have cost, that other projects have spent 10 grand on. So you have that worry, about being forgotten about while you're doing your marketing tour. But whereas with a fair launch or a stealth launch, you have to keep that marketing ongoing, not pretty much non-stop. Otherwise, you can risk going to bed at night and waking up and, you've been cheated.
I think a perfect fair launch would be ideal, but I've seen fair launches where like it's a real product, they have a game already developed, all this stuff is really good. So some crazy person is like, oh cool, and they buy up like they might use multiple wallets if there's a wallet thing set in place, or if not, they might just drop 20-30 grand and scoop up just a massive chunk, and then they're just there, and then like even like 6 months later everything's going good, and that top wallet sells even just a sliver to cover some bills or whatever, and everyone panics and freaks out every single time they move or transfer or sell. It can go bad, but I think in an ideal circumstance, a fair launch would be best.
Well, there was I don't want to name the name of the project. There was a guy who bought into a pre-sale, right, of a project at the beginning of the last year's bull run, right? And he forgot about it. And someone ended up commenting on his B-scan address saying, yo, bro, claim your tokens. You got like 5 mil in tokens now.
65.
That was
it was 60. Yeah, you guys know what I'm talking about, right? Yeah.
That was in Brian's lounge, wasn't it, when he was in the BC?
Yeah, I was there. And the dude who commented on his B-scan ad, he said, hey, man, could you throw me $1 million for reminding you? And he did. Yeah, the dude ended up sending $1 million to some random dude on B-scan. And so that's why another reason why you don't know if someone's really invested in the project, they know about the project, and because that's what you're looking for. You're looking for, everyone wants to take profits. That's totally fine. People are more than welcome to do whatever they want to do in this space. But it's, at the end of the day, we're all in crypto for the same reasons. And I think we all should have that sense of responsibility of how will this affect the entire community? Now, of course, there's going to be people out there who really don't give a shit. They're like, oh, I just made $10 million. Thanks for the exit liquidity, guys. And they just dip out. But I mean, we want to create a space where people can come in and see that sense of community, because that's the one thing that is going to help with adoption. All you hear on the news right now, crypto's a scam, and, Three Arrows Capital, is filing for bankruptcy, which is causing this giant meltdown across the sector. And, that's all the public perception is. So I think for people who really care about the community and the space, they need to have that, spatial awareness of how actions can affect the entire community.
Yeah, because in reality, like, a lot of DeFi is moving towards. I know it's we're kind of doing a little bit of a meme season right now, considering the climate. But how I'm seeing things and how I'm doing doing AMAs regularly is turning into its own micro business. This is everyone is trying to do something. Which I've noticed a lot more of lately is that people are trying to work together and actually create something good and the betterment of just life in general. I'm not going to name names, but there's some really good projects that are being built right now that they're actual companies, and instead of going public with them, they've gone through crypto, and a lot of them are genuinely bettering life and the space. And it's basically just now a group of companies building, and then meme coins come in, and it's just like a shared space of a lot of things.
I mean, again, regarding to launchpads, I feel like launchpads are kind of based of their teams, project owners, and especially the communities, and what the communities are built with or whom. That means, if there are investors, opportunists, and what's the ratio, right? As always, if we are having a pre-sale on, let's say, launchpad XIZ, then always there are people that are looking forward some profits over purchasing the pre-sale. That's the whole idea. But the thing is, what is the community really being built from, right? Well,
yeah, Oh no, go ahead.
Go on. I was just about to move to another theme, but just feel free to drop the idea.
Well, no, it's again, what are the intentions of the Launchpad? Because Launchpads are great. They offer good branding services. They get the name out of places. They allow pre-sales to fill. They get eyes on product. But, not to name any names, there are Launchpads who made a name for themselves and got extremely popular, and they end up taking a portion of the supply, and they actually will dump on the projects that they're there to help launch. So again, I'm not naming names or anything. What people really got to DYOR, they got to understand, does this Launchpad, it has great marketing, they'll do all these things for us, but could this negatively impact the project as a whole? So again, I just tell anyone, DYOR, do your research on the team, speak to other people who have launched a token off that pad. Was it worth it? Did they get eyes on product? Did it actually help, or did it hurt the project?
Yeah, it's a shame the guy from GemPad couldn't make it, because the more AMAs I do, the more I notice that people are moving on to, people are using GemPad. And I know we all know who Nomad was talking about. And the sad fact is, we all, not many people have a positive thing to say about it, but unfortunately, it brings exposure. So you've got, that's one thing that some of these platforms do, is they do bring exposure, but it's at a cost. It's almost like selling your soul, but it does kind of work. Like, I mean, we've all been in the space long enough now to know that if your project's trending, they've paid for it. If they're in the top 10, they've paid for it, and I'd like to think that we've, like most of us, have wisened up to these tactics. But yeah, some do bring more exposure to a project. But then with that exposure, also the big ones, you're also watered down amongst many other projects. So yeah, it's kind of a tough one when it comes to launch pads. I mean, I haven't used GemPad myself, but I just hear a lot of positive feedback. A lot of positive feedback from them.
Yeah, correct. It is always like picking not only the community, but the whole Launchpad and their history. And as you are saying, like even the controversial news or exposure is exposure, right? So people know like who are them and like what they are doing. So there's a lot of interest. Yeah, I mean, we are kind of moving to the last section theme of today, and that's the launch day. So let's try to think about how to prepare. We were touching that before from all of the management balance sides, and now let's focus on what is needed to launch successfully, how maybe markets and tips, tricks. We need to think about hype also. Then we need to move like the trackers or CMC, CG, and to successfully define the launch in the best way. Again, Spazitron, as you are launched, like what was your team preparation for the day of launch?
Again, we had a kind of a special situation where like we had been sort of hinting at it, and by the time we launched the blockchain, it was like we had so much proof of just stuff. Here it is. Here's our own Explorer that we built. Because we showed off our Explorer and stuff like that before we went live. So it was a little bit different for us. However, as far as other tokens that I've seen, the biggest thing that I would say is plan it out, get your team together, do an actual written schedule to make sure that the voice chat is open for like I would do 72 hours, to be honest, because I've seen launches where it's 24 hours later and then there's just like 2 hours where all the devs are literally sleeping because they've been up for 24 hours, and then everyone comes in with the FUD and it just mangles the Telegram group. So I would do it old school. I would actually get an Excel sheet, get a paper and pencil, and make a schedule so that there's somebody 24 for the first like 3 full days just there kind of babysitting the chat.
Yeah, I mean, I launched a token.
100%.
I launched a token, and I think I did a 28-hour VC. I mean, I did, to be honest, by the end of it, I didn't know what I was talking about, but yeah, I was there. I think I got so tired, I don't know what was going on by the end of it, but yeah, I think VC is definitely important, and I mean, I think in this current climate and the fact that a lot of people are wisening up to the old tactics of, DEX tool trending, just trending in general. CMC still has the effect, not quite, like CoinGecko, in my opinion, used to have like a big pump. It doesn't seem to have that kind of effect anymore. But yeah, I think utility over hype. Like hype, it depends what you are. Like if you are just a hype token, then like if you're trying to be all mysterious and stuff, that stuff really works and it resonates with people. But you're probably not going to last very long. Whereas when it comes to utility, like when I'm advising projects for launch and stuff, it's always, and I work for a bunch of projects, and it's always about partnership building, and they're the ones that I say should have died a long time ago, and they're still going, and that's because they are building partnerships continuously. So yeah, as long if you get your partnerships, like what you guys are doing now, you're working here, you're doing podcasts, you've got a bunch of us in here talking and stuff, which is going to lead to something good for you, down the road. That, in my opinion, is the best form of marketing right now.
Yeah, like regarding to that, like we got a host who recently launched, and it was DeFi Skeptics and Chris, CEO from them, and like they've done great on the launch. Like they are hovering around 80K market cap. But what is the fin and the whole point why I'm mentioning that they did a fair launch, and they managed to build a community full of trust and people that actually understands like what's the whole point of the project. They launched, and there was no done. Like simply the people believed into the project. So I need to agree with your point. I think the most important part really is to be sure that if I'm launching, that it is not only some hype and like running on empty and really, yeah, like it may be a bit of different than it used to be in a bull market, but we are project owners and businesses needs to be adapted, right? So I feel that strongly that we need to right now cooperate more, find like backers, partnerships, and making the community aware of the whole situation as well as of the product. Right, and
I have to agree. Experience of just running a lounge. Lounge owners are doing the exact same thing. We're all running around. I'm added to a new group almost daily of lounge owners where, everyone's trying to work together because it's, we're not getting the work because there isn't enough projects marketing right now. So yeah, when you look at a lounge, it's no different than a project. We're all looking at the numbers. We don't have charts, but we're looking at we're looking at numbers. We're looking at turnout and who's talking and who's doing what and all of that. And partnerships are the only way to see us through this, whatever we're in right now. Crypto winter, bear market, however you want to say it, the opinion's yours and where we're at. But yeah, it works no different to tokens. Get your token. Get your partners all ready for your launch, and if they believe in, if you've been you believe in them, they believe in you. You just need people to hold the floor for you guys.
Well, not only that too. I'm finding ease of use, whether it's a lounge or whether it's participating in a pre-sale, or because I mean, even I've seen a lot of people in the crypto space who've been here for maybe a little bit, but they still have so many questions that we probably think are, we've done these actions so many times that it's just secondhand nature for us. But ease of use and navigating, because you want people to know every aspect of a project, whether, oh, here you can find our website, our social links, things like that. And so being able to participate easily, whether you're booking an AMA or you're trying to buy an NFT or things like that, making the roadmap of the ecosystem that you're trying to create, I think that's a big deal as well to get people introduced to your community.
Yeah, correct. So simply have this connection in between the product and people understand it well. Like in the bull markets, I think there was much more of a hype, and people were simply only buying the projects that were pumping. But it was only a matter of the time when the project gonna pump. Simply there was so much capital and budget from people that were invested into these projects. That simply it was really easy. But right now, I think people are kind of changing the behavior, and there is no so much investing into those kind of hype of things. Yes, still there is this trend, but I think people are much more aware that they need to look far more for the utility product and actually understanding like if the product is necessary and if the product got some future, right? Like, what do you think, guys?
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Yeah, like
Great.
yeah, maybe like it is 90 minutes we are talking, and we are always trying to keep it this way to not really bore and kind of let people down. Since it is Friday, people expecting the weekend time. Guys, I think it is the time to say the last words. To say the community goodbye. We'll end the official recording part with this, and then we'll move toward the community, and if there are any ideas or points regarding the podcast. So we could start up.
Then we've stopped recording, we can start talking crap about all the projects that we didn't name.
All right, guys.
I need to open
so
up my
we'll
Excel
start
then.
with the.
Yeah, I want to thank you for inviting me on. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us. It's so cool to see new projects coming in, getting new perspectives of perspective and experience of other things. So it's really cool to see this growing, and thanks so much for having me.
Thank you, Nomad.
Yeah, thanks again. I really do enjoy being a part of this. I know this time I might have been a little bit quiet. I've been trying to participate and listen in, but I've also been working on some stuff in the background. Had a pretty busy week, but I still appreciate being here.
Thank you, Gildet.
We appreciate coming on as always. Yeah, same here. The day job has been chasing me around the building, but yeah, I love coming on. Love hanging out with you guys.
Thank you, Positron. Yeah, it's been a pleasure, really. We had some fun. We had some interesting ideas. Again, thank you for joining us, for listening. Again, there's going to be available on the YouTube recapitulation, and I'm stopping the official recording by now.